Hello, Troy Francis in Mexico City. I paid for a night out at a comedy show for this girl and she flaked on me 20 minutes before. Was I wrong to ask her to pay the money back? Okay, not me, seriously. This was a question that was posed on Reddit and I thought it was an interesting one, so I wanted to do a little video response to it. So the OP, the original poster, wrote that he'd met this girl, I think on a dating app, and he wanted to take her on this date, so he booked tickets for this comedy show, and she flaked. So 20 minutes before, and he shared the messages that they'd sent, but 20 minutes before she sends him a message, it was a little bit half-assed, you know, sort of, hey, my car's broken down, really sorry, can't make it, lol, kind of thing, you know. And so he then sends her a message back, and he says, yeah, no worries, that's fine. How do you want to pay me the money back for the ticket? I've got Venmo, I've got Cash App, I've got, you know, whatever, PayPal. And he was asking people on Reddit whether they thought that was the wrong thing to do. Firstly, I wouldn't take a girl to a comedy club for a first date. I assume this was a first date, so if I'm wrong and the OP is watching, you can correct me, but I think this was a first date. I wouldn't take a girl to a comedy show for a first date anyway, all right? Very bad idea for various reasons. Firstly, a first date should be about getting to know one another, okay? And if you are sitting around in a darkened room listening to somebody else on stage cracking jokes, then, you know, how are you're not interacting with one another, okay? It's why going to the cinema, I think, is a very bad idea as well for a first date. You know, you basically just want to sit down, have a couple of drinks, and get to know her, and get to understand a bit more about her as a person, and kind of figure out if you guys have got chemistry or not. I mean, that's what it's about. It's not about sitting in a darkened room, listening to some bloke making jokes. The other problem, of course, with comedy nights is that, you know, if you're sitting near the front row, guy starts making jokes about you. Oh, are you two on a first date? Blah, blah, blah. And that could potentially be a little bit embarrassing. And if you don't handle it well, you know, then that's going to diminish you in her eyes as well. So that's another, you know, aspect specifically about comedy nights. Comedy nights as a date thing, once you're seeing her, fine. You know, I used to do that with my ex. We would go to some comedy things in London and it was great, yeah, fun, whatever. But I wouldn't do it as a first date. So that's the first thing, but that's a little bit of a side issue perhaps. Was he wrong to ask her for the money back? Yes, he was wrong. Yes, you shouldn't do it. I mean, I'm not saying you're ethically or morally wrong. I mean, because, you know, you'd paid money for this ticket. She basically flaked 20 minutes before. It was a bit of a lame excuse. As people underneath the post were saying, she probably could have just got an Uber or something. It seemed, you know, not really a valid excuse, and to just let you know 20 minutes before, very disrespectful, etc., etc. However, do you ask for the money back? No, you don't. Everything in dating, right, is sometimes you've just got to accept the loss and move on, okay? There is collateral damage in these things, in dating, and it is what it is, man. You know, you should never spend money on anything in that kind of context that you're not prepared to lose, and that includes, I mean, what happens if you have a girlfriend, say you were seeing her, and then you book tickets, you know, you book a holiday or you book plane tickets, and then 20 minutes before you're meant to meet at the airport, she messages you and says, actually, sorry, I'm dumping you, I don't want to go on the trip anymore. Should you ask for the money back then? Well, people will have different opinions on that. I personally probably wouldn't even ask for the money back for that, personally. And that's not because I'm being super like simpy or anything like that. It's just because, you know, what does a high value guy do? Okay? Does he quibble over the price of probably a $15 ticket to go and see a comedy show? Does he quibble over a $100 flight? Probably not. You know, I mean, life is unfair. People do things that are disingenuous and maybe dishonest, and you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to roll with it. But I think the problem with asking for the money back is that it just makes you look like a brokey, to use the modern parlance. It makes you look like a brokey who's also a little bit petulant and a little bit pedantic and sort of grasping and kind of like, oh well, you know, can we just settle the account then, kind of thing. It looks a little bit butthurt, okay, is the thing. I mean, yeah, okay, if it's $1,000 flight ticket, that might be slightly different, but if they're relatively small amounts of money, I think you just have to roll with it, to be honest. But again, this is another reason why you don't do something like a comedy night for a first date, or something where you have to pay out money before meeting up with her for a first date, okay? Just don't do it. Just say, look, I'll meet you at the bar, we're gonna have a couple of drinks, or, you know, we'll meet you at the coffee shop, we're gonna have a coffee, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna get to know one another. That should be the first date. That is the first date model, okay? Anything beyond that, you know, you're in shaky territory. I mean, I don't want to rehash the endless conversations about if you should take someone for dinner or not, but I mean, again, I in most cases, certainly for a first date, I don't think going for dinner is something you should do either, because it's a larger investment of money, it's usually a larger investment of time. You've got to sit opposite someone and make awkward conversation with a table between you, which is not ideal either. So I wouldn't even do that. You know, keep it simple, stupid. KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. Just go for a couple of drinks. You know, first date doesn't even need to be a long date. Could be an hour, hour and a half. Could be a coffee date, 20 minutes, half an hour. You know, there's no big investment, or there's no investment of money up front. If she flakes, she doesn't turn up, it's fine, because you haven't spent anything, and you get to sit down next to one another and have a conversation and get to know one another, which is what a date is about, for God's sake. A date isn't about watching somebody else acing it on stage. I mean, why are you taking her? I would probably say the same thing about a rock gig, to be honest. Why do you want to take her into an environment where some other guy is basically bossing it on stage and you're sitting there like a passive observer to that? I mean, that seems to me to be a bad strategy as well, right? You know, you want to be the hero of the journey, right? Not some bloke who's cracking jokes on stage, or a guitarist or a singer or whatever. So again, you know, keep it simple, couple of drinks, get to know her, try to ignite some chemistry, see if that chemistry is there. If it is, proceed on to, you know, maybe going back to your place or arranging another date. If that chemistry isn't there, no problem, sayonara, see you later. Okay, keep it simple. Don't do comedy dates for a first date. Further down the line, yep, fine, you know. First dates, no. Anyway, and don't ask for money back for silly things like that. If it's like $10, $15 or something, I mean, come on, you know, come on. Those are my thoughts anyway. Maybe you disagree, I don't know. Put your comments below. Let me know what you think. Give me a like, follow the channel, subscribe to the channel for God's sake if you're not already. What are you doing? If you want to get on a call with me to discuss your dating life and how things are going and figuring out if we can work together with some coaching, then do that. There is a link below for Calendly. You can book a call with me. And support the channel for God's sake. We're not monetized here. So I have a Patreon. You can support me for $5 a month, less than the price of a fancy coffee. And yeah, you get to ask me questions for these videos, and we'll be posting up some exclusive content over on Patreon again very soon. So get involved with that. See you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.